So should we get going? We have a
Let's do
decent
it.
number of people here.
Yeah, Pooja's not here and Brett. Those are the two big guys. I wonder where they are.
Pooja is there, I think.
Pooja's
Oh,
here.
Pooja is here. Oh, hi,
And so
Pooja.
is
Yeah, I
Brett.
didn't see you there. Yeah, Pooja's here. Okay, yeah, we can start now.
Here.
Hey, Brent, how you going?
Hey, good. Oh, Brett's here too. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, people have like a same picture, so it's hard to tell who's
Yeah.
who. Okay, cool. So I'll share the agenda in the chat here. First item is a DevCon update, and I think the biggest bit there is an update from the EF. So on the last day of DevCon, I think it was Charles, Hudson, Lane, and I had a chat with Ken at the EF about how we can better collaborate and kind of grow the role of the cat herders in the Ethereum ecosystem. And so we wanted to kind of share sort of the high level outcomes of that discussions on this call and get people's thoughts and whatnot. So I see, Ken, you're here, but muted. Do you want to sort of recap what your perspective on the discussions were?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. So I'm super excited, right? I think you guys play a very, pivotal role in terms of a lot of things that need to be done within the ecosystem. And you guys just do a great job at actually getting the right people and really kind of filling those voids. So based on our conversation, the note-taking funds will be covered. Not specifically by EF, but through community members. I think it's a really strong signal to the rest of the community that this is wanted by the ecosystem. This is wanted by others in Ethereum, and not just doesn't need to come from EF, right? So it's really important that a lot of these initiatives are covered, and I think moving forward we're going to have increased communications, right? I'm more than I was gonna say more than happy, but I'm actually just like super excited because we did finalize this. We're gonna start doing have a cadence call where we discuss, what can we have as like a project plan moving forward to be that first rung on the ladder as people dive into the space, right? How does cat herders actually become the first interfacing role to have more people involved in Ethereum, right? So the idea is, there's so much around onboarding to Ethereum and kind of, who is the first, where's the first place that people who want to dive into Ethereum go, right? And cat herders plays that, becomes that, like, I guess, I want to say greeter, but I think that's the wrong word. It becomes like the happy group that stands there and says, hey, like, join here. Like, we have so many different, things that need to be attacked. Like, we'd love to have you here. And it's completely, it doesn't have to be like a technical role. It can be non-technical, where I think, it plays an extremely, I guess, pivotal role in terms of really getting people to not just dive in, but fall so deeply into the rabbit hole that is the Ethereum ecosystem. So I'm pretty excited to kind of work on that with you guys. And I think separately, it's also understanding kind of what else can the cat herders play a role in, right? Whether that's, I think Tim brought up a great idea about core dev calls. What happens when, Hudson's not there, right? And I think, having those contingencies and having the cat herders play that role and finding the right people to, pick up the pieces or not even picking up pieces, but, having substitutes, creating redundancies around, really important roles within the ecosystem. I think this is extremely important and something that we just have not really thought too much about. So, yeah, I, as I said, excited to be here and just move this forward.
What do you have in mind when you're talking about onboarding? I mean, when you're talking about new people coming into the ecosystem, I missed the meeting by DevCon, but how would we fill that role?
Yeah, so onboarding, I guess, is like a catch-all term at this point, right? I don't think that there's like a specific, this is how you get into Ethereum. And maybe that's one of the things that we can come up with together, right? Maybe it's, if you're just looking to get out on Ethereum, what are things that you can do to immediately play a role, right? So for example, I think note taking is one of those things, especially on core dev calls, on the ETH2 implementers calls. Like these are things that, even for me, when I first joined Ethereum, right, I watched the core dev calls. A lot of it was just lost on me. I had no idea what was going on. I just remember like Hudson, talking about EEPs and Martin and Peter. And a lot of it was really kind of me diving in and trying to like understand on my own. And this is like before ETH research. So trying to understand like, okay, what does this mean? How do I understand like what these people are talking about? I think a form of onboarding can be, breaking this down. Like, how do we have this in layman's terms? And the thing that I always kind of draw back to, and I've said this, several times before, is maybe like a children's book, maybe like, cartoons or comics that people kind of just read and pick up, right? This is a little childish, but I do think
there's some guy doing that on Bitcoin, by the way. There's some Bitcoin guy who's putting out kids' books. Like the idea has been explored.
He works at Polymath. B is for Bitcoin.
Who's doing it?
One of the VPs at Polymath wrote a book called B is for Bitcoin, and it's a children's book to educate about blockchain and Bitcoin and all other tokens as well. And actually, he was on Forbes.
Oh, that's so amazing, dude. This is what we need. This is what I'm talking about, right? Like, I think if we can have maybe, that was just an example, but I think there's so much to onboarding that there's not like a specific idea that I have, right? And this is where I kind of lean on you guys to tell me, what is it that will be that first rung to, dipping your toes into Ethereum, right? What is that first thing where I can immediately contribute and also learn, be a part of research, without needing to have, I guess, the full breadth of understanding all of Ethereum, right? And which is like almost impossible at this point. So that's kind of what I mean by onboarding, right?
Are we brainstorming about ideas for this right now? Like right here, right now?
No, not right now. This is what we talked about at the meeting.
Okay, great.
How we can kind of work together.
I wanted to bring up something else that was came up during the meeting and kind of other meetings around the main meeting. The Ethereum magicians want to play a bigger role in collaborating with us, especially for ideas around fundraising, since we have similar lack of funding some of the time. We've been doing really well lately, but the magicians are kind of hanging out there to dry, and they need some funding for some of the coordination efforts and like in-person meetings they're doing and stuff like that. So I think a few of you might have talked to Annette or Jamie about this already, but I just wanted to throw that out there as something else that was discussed, so that you just have it on your minds, that we might be doing more collaboration with the magicians in the future, since they're kind of another very grassroots volunteer run organization.
I would like to add one more thing here about a new initiative that is being surfaced but not completely up right now. It's for the promotion of Ethereum, that is called as a marketing DAO. It is a group of community people who are kind of creating DAO and looking for alliance with Ethereum Foundation and Ethereum EEA Enterprise Ethereum Alliance and other, looking them as a funder and trying to come up with ideas like placing billboards, ads, and other stuff, and that way they are looking for promotion of Ethereum. So I hope that this group would also be collaborating with the cat herders and magician and other groups of Ethereum. I just wanted to let you guys know about it.
Yeah, we could get super crazy and make a super group to coordinate the super group that coordinates all the little groups. I'm very much joking, but
that totally sounds like that.
God, Hudson.
So yeah, Ken, thanks for kind of describing what's going on with all that. And then Tim, we can bring it back to you for either the next agenda item or if anyone had anything else to say, I guess, on this. That's all I had to say personally.
Should we make like a bit of an action item and have some people work on some of these ideas and like proposals?
Yeah, would it be worth having like a brainstorming session around it?
Yeah, I think that
I'm
could be
in.
really cool. Yeah.
All right,
Just
so
organizing like a separate. I mean, I'm happy to kind of set up a separate call, for those interested in brainstorming that.
Yeah,
all
that
right,
would be
great.
great.
I'm interested. Yeah.
Yeah. One idea I had, and I posted this in our chat a couple of days ago, is I'm going to East Waterloo, and I think a couple of us are as well. I'd love to see how we can kind of use that as an opportunity to like brainstorm some of these ideas with the community, or just get like kind of the community's thoughts on where the cat herders can be most helpful, or just in general, like the stuff that's missing that in Ethereum that the cat herders could help with. So yeah, all this to say, I think if we could have like a brainstorming call before Eat Waterloo, and maybe come up with like some things we can do remote and some things that are like valuable to do in person there with the community, that would be really cool.
I really like that idea, Tom. I wish it was a bit.
Okay, I guess I could organize something for next week if people are available.
Yeah, we could almost use the same time. Like we know this
Yeah,
Tuesday.
perfect.
Yeah, Tuesday
Slot
14.
works for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can
Okay,
have like
cool.
a one-off brainstorm. Great.
All right, cool. Yeah, yeah, I can just I can send an invite, and then if people want to be added to it, just let me know.
Cool.
Does that work for you,
And you-
Ken? Actually, might be good to check that first.
Oh. Ken says he'll be at Eat Waterloo though, so I guess if it doesn't work next week, we can catch up with him then, but we should add him on the invite.
Perfect.
Who else will
Yeah,
be
it
at
works
East
for me.
Waterloo?
I am good for this time on Tuesday.
Perfect. All right, sweet.
Thanks.
Is anyone from the group other than Ken, Tim, and myself going to be at East Waterloo? Lane?
Yeah, I am unsure about it.
Session.
Maybe I'll be joining you guys there. I'm not really sure about it yet.
Okay, great. Anything else on this? Okay, so next item was hard fork coordination update. Hudson, do you want to give a quick update? I'm
Sure.
happy to. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as hard fork coordination goes, the Ethereum Foundation just hired James Hancock to do hard fork coordination. He is now communicating with some of the client teams and helping with the figuring out the block number for the next hard fork, for example, and other things like that. So I think that's just about it. The good news about this is the cat herders don't need to do as much when it comes to that stuff. I mean, obviously, during hard forks, the sending out broader communications and blog posts and stuff like that will still be involved in. But as far as the actual hard fork itself and a lot of the low-level technical coordination and EIP coordination that's required, we do not have to do that. So that's the update.
Yeah, and I'll add a couple things to that. One is we chose a mainnet block for the hard fork, which is going to be on December 4th. I think there's still like 2 proposals for the blocks, but basically the mainnet upgrade will be on December 4th. So I assume we'll probably have to draft a blog post for that to make the community aware. And 2 things about also making the community aware is, one, there's like been a lot of I guess talk about like the 1884 EAP that breaks some of the smart contracts. I don't know if there's anything the cat herders can do to reach out to those people. Hudson, I'm curious what your thoughts are there.
We need to set something up between this hard fork and the next hard fork that reaches out to DApp teams. I always think of it as a mailing list, but that's really esoteric and boring. So maybe, I don't know, like a Telegram room or something with major DApp devs that's just a, here's the things that can affect you in a hard fork room, or maybe something that's a little broader for more interested parties to join, like everybody's tech lead from their project can join this group and discuss the latest findings from what can affect you for the hard fork updates, because they don't have the time to look at the notes every week.
I
So
have a
almost like the
suggestion here.
security.
I have a suggestion here. We can use Eth Research group for posting these things, the updates and the complications there, and the others can continue the discussion over there itself.
Yeah, something like ETH Research or ETH Magicians might be a good first place to put that stuff. You're right.
But I think there might be value
looking
to
for it to
something
be?
that's more like a Gitter channel, kind of like I know there's one for the client developers for security issues, and even all core devs, but just having one that's like that developer protocol changes where we just broadcast those. And I think that would also help with the problem of like no one reviews EAPs before they're accepted. So if you had a room like that, then you can say, hey, we're discussing this EAP, you know, here are the implications. Can you please comment before it's actually accepted rather than once it's been included in the upgrade?
Yeah, that might work. I think that would be a good idea, so we can get their feedback as early as possible. William, did you have something?
Yeah, I think if it's a chat channel, you're going to run into the same sort of problems that that we have with them not reading updates. And you'll have to attract people to the channel and then get them to pay attention to what's happening in the channel. Unless it's like some kind of help desk, like as in eek, my dApp broke because I haven't been reading things and there was just a hard fork that broke my dApp and I'm losing tons of money a day, sort of a thing.
I think, yeah, I'll go ahead.
No, that was pretty much the end of it.
Yeah, so the thing is, what they're wanting is a channel of communication, and if they ignore it, that's their problem. We'll probably get an email address from them too, so we can send out emails to like warn of hard forks and like any potential downtime as things get more complicated in the future with the ETH1 to ETH2 transition. But as long as it's really, the edict is more around setting up that channel and participating in it more than making sure they participate in it, in my opinion.
I was wondering, could we use our present EIP Gitter for this discussion?
I don't know what that channel is used for right now, so we could.
That is basically used for if somebody introduces new EAP and that needs to be accepted with it's in draft position or it requires some reviewers to attract attention of reviewers that is being currently used for. So probably we can use it for, you know, when we have some new EIP.
Wow,
Yeah,
I want to get in on
maybe.
that.
I think there's also value of having it be like a branded channel for dApp developers, and that there's a lot of like chatter in that EAP channel where people are like, oh, can you merge my EAP, blah blah blah, and most or like a large part of EAPs don't actually like affect dApp developers. So I think having something that's focused where if there's like a lower amount of messages, then it's easier to expect people to read them than if they're reading this random channel about like somebody's weird like networking EAP that doesn't affect them. I think it's just harder to get the engagement there. But anyways, maybe we can take this offline of coordinating how we actually set up that channel.
Yeah, like a working group for that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, Pooja, what was the name of that Gitter channel again? I'm looking for it, but not finding it. I'm seeing ETH recovery.
I just have pasted the link in chat.
Oh, got it. Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's from Progpa. I'll just paste it. I don't know for some reason.
Oh yeah, I've seen the ProgPal review. I'm on that one, but it sounded like you were talking about an EAP.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
ProgPal is just one EAP, right?
No.
There's also an EAP channel. I think it's called
yeah.
There. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's have an action item to look into setting up that dApp developer channel. And a final thing about the hard fork coordination, there was an action item from the core devs call about does anyone has thoughts on like if and how we want to do that?
I just lost you. I
Or
don't know
if
if I'm
anything-
the only one.
Oh,
Sorry, Tim, you just broke up.
sorry.
then.
So there was an action item. Oh, let me close some other stuff. There was an action item about reaching out to the Gordy team, and with regards to the upgrade and getting them, aware that the upgrade is happening. I was just wondering if anyone has an update there, or if, like, is this something we want to take on, and if so, who and how?
I wasn't clear. What does the Gorley team need?
So the people who run validator nodes on Gordy, for some reason, there was an action item in the core devs call that the cat herders would reach out to them so that they upgrade for Istanbul. Yeah, I was wondering if anyone had any more context there.
Afri's on Gorley, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe I was contacted by Charles, and I'm not sure, Charles, did you by any chance get to talk to those people? Like I remember something we were having discussion about that. Charles, you may be on mute if.
Oh, sorry, my internet's quite bad. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, I was talking about this, the action item that we discussed right after the meeting of the All Core Dev call about reaching out to Gorley people and checking about the test net status, like if it is working fine or something is not good.
Yeah, I can definitely follow up with them today about that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Anything else on the hard fork coordination? Okay, moving on to next topic, funding, accounting, multi-sig. So number one is the update on the Gitcoin discrepancy for the CLR matching. I saw someone posted something on the chat about that.
Yeah, I have a question for Lane to possibly to start things out. You want me to jump in?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so does it work if I share my screen and I can show the spreadsheet I've kind of been hacking on just to point out what I'm talking about? So let's see if I can, let's see that guy there, that guy there. Okay, can you see my screen now?
No.
Not coming through. Okay, oh no.
Oh, now I think we.
Okay, can you see? So I'm going to pull up my spreadsheet here. Where did that go? Not that one, not that one. Okay, here we go. So basically, someone sent out this sheet here, this Google sheet, that basically has the list of. This looks like the multi-sig account here, all the in and out, and it shows this is the 13,000 DAI coming in from the CLI, is it? And stuff like that, and also this is the data from, they had this, like, this is the data from the Gitcoin, and if you come over here, not that guy there, this guy here, this is the master ProgPal page, which has lists all the donations and the total funded and everything, and it's kind of hard to figure out because you have to pay attention, because there's things like some of these entered here are failures, which I noticed after the fact that was messing up my numbers. But anyway, I went to here, and so I made this copy here of that, and I sorted them according to date, and there was some additional things that went in, And so basically this column here is all of the Dai donated that matches up with all of this Dai out here. And so I was doing summing of those totals out here, and then there was visual reports of this number here, because this isn't a record, this is just only shows the current date, and some people reported numbers on these, and these numbers weren't matching up with these numbers, and that seemed to be the problem. But after I went through and calculated everything mostly starts to seem to balance to me. And so I guess my question to Lane is, if we go to the original, there's this total tokens received do not match amount reported on grant, and this was submitted by Lane, and Lane pointed out he enumerated this number here, and again I'm assuming that's the number he saw here at that date on May 3rd, but we didn't actually receive any, and then he gave this link to here, which again is that, and this is the and I believe this is the multi-sig account here, and when you go through and look all that, there's the 13,000 you can find. Yeah, here's the 13,000 that came in, and it came in from this address, and so I'm assuming that, so if I search for all of those, then there's only these two here. But anyway, I guess my question was to Lane, for this here, I can see this number here, I'm assuming he got from this number here, but then he gives this number here to point that to the source of what doesn't match with that. But I was wondering, what is it in this spreadsheet here, and I'll go back over to here, other than these two, that should be totaling up to what he reported as this amount here? I guess that's my question to anyone who might know that.
I think if it's written, we can answer it better.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? This is Lane.
Yeah, I can hear you, Lane.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Brent, thank you. This is really important forensic work. I have a sense of how much effort this required. I know you've been working on this for a few months, so thank you for that, and thank you for sharing it all.
Yeah.
So the only, I mean, the only answer I can give you.
Too, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you also, Pooja. So this 15799.70 number should come from the Gitcoin grants page. Is that, I'm on my phone, so it's a little hard for me to see. Is that not what it says there? So there's a 28. Yeah. So I think that's also just a more recent number. So I think the number as of
May 3rd.
Yeah, the number as of May 3rd exactly was that number. I didn't do any fancy math there. That's where I got that from.
Oh, okay, so that's where that number, and that's, I assume that right. But then you also included the link to the Etherscan address, and that's the multi-sig account. And so what, and you were saying it was a couple $100 off, and what number in that multi-sig were you saying is a couple $100 off? Because I only see two numbers from I mean, it's easy to see the 13,000 CLI incoming, and then there's another one immediately after that, which is 357 DAI coming in from the same address, but that's the only two amounts coming in from that address, and that total is several thousand off from the
yeah, Brett, so that's the question I was asking in that issue, was saying, I see this 15799, which is sort of supposed to be canonical or authoritative. Why don't the numbers that I see on the blockchain sum up to that, or which set of them should I add? So I think that is the, sorry if it's not super clear from the language here, but that is the question in this issue.
I was also looking into this spreadsheet and the multi-sig account, and what I could figure out was, like Lane was correct in mentioning that it is a couple of hundreds off, and I think that is because of the LPT and ZRX and WETH conversion rate at that point of time, because sometimes the amount is being calculated in DAI and sometimes it is being calculated in USD. So if we try to bring them together, there are a couple of hundreds here. I mean, in my spreadsheet, it showed around $250 off, but I was like very close getting whatever is being shown to Gitcoin. And the screenshot I shared the other day was for the current rate that I took it from the coinmarketcap.com. Maybe they are referring to some other exchange or some other rates. that may be the reason of this couple of hundreds off here, but more or less, like if we look into it, 13584 is the CLR matching, and the die that we have received is 14614, and rest 3 ERC20 tokens. I think they are playing roles in this couple of hundreds. That's what my explanation is.
Yeah, I pulled up your image here on the screen. Can you guys see that? That's that's her image there. But so the WETH. Pooja, I have a question. So when you let's see, go back to here. So there's this number here, and you said it was a couple $100 off. What number was it that was a couple $100? Where did you come up with that number?
The number that Lane presented here is for the die that was available on that particular day, maybe on May 3rd. And
right.
Yeah, the image that you see in my my screenshot is
that's here.
Yeah, so that is for the day that I shared. And
so,
here, the 28196 die that is mentioned in Gitcoin page, I am assuming that 15,000 something that Lane has mentioned was reflecting there on that day. So what I tried to do here is I tried to match this 28196 die with my calculation, putting the value of die as well as the USD in that particular day. So I found that those are almost equal. So my assumption, my hypothesis is like the rates that we are assuming for LPT, ZRX, and the WETH is, creating some kind of here and there of, like 200 or 300 die. That is certainly off there. But other than that, it is almost close to that.
Yeah, and then all the numbers, I thought I was seeing problems earlier, but that was just because I didn't quite know all the data. But from what I'm seeing now, everything seems to be reasonably close, not too far off. So anyway, I guess we still have the question, Lane, would you agree that everything looks right, or is there something that we can point to that's really off that we should be worrying about?
Quick question, Pooja, is this image that you're sharing right here, is this in that GitHub issue thread, the one on Gitcoin Web?
No, it's not there. I just shared it internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we also have a Ethereum cat herders PM issue tied to that. If you wouldn't mind, unless there's something particularly sensitive about this, if you wouldn't mind sharing this, it's very helpful to have all the. My feeling is that we probably shouldn't take up too much more bandwidth on this call with this, because it's just sort of, it's a lot of numbers. I'm happy to take a look at it again in the next few days.
Yeah, I agree. I'll go ahead and paste it over there. But, that number would not be matching today because that was a probability of October 1st. So if I would be able to do the calculation for today, I can go ahead and paste it there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Tim just shared the link. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if we agree, like if Lane, you can review the numbers just to double check them, and it makes sense that like the numbers did line up, and that's where we got the initial die amount. I think that kind of resolves the question of the issue, right?
Yes, with the caveat that there's a second part of this issue, or maybe it's a second issue, which is those funds. So actually, let me rephrase this as a question. Are there still any funds commingled in here from stuff like the ProgPow audit?
Yes, and
five die I saw for, I think it was the Gitcoin owner. I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, so there are funds commingled. I mean, Aragon sent us 600 dies for the note stakings and whatnot. So maybe we can discuss the ProgPow audit at the end. It was on the agenda. I have some thoughts about the funds there, but just like to stick to our agenda and not to leave ProgPow to the end because it will take up all the time. I suggest we just move through the rest and then get back to it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Makes sense for me. Thank you, guys. Let's split up the funds when we can. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, and yeah, by the way, great job, Brett and Pooja, on this forensic analysis. This is really valuable that we actually know what our money is. Okay, next agenda item is kind of more of an announcement, but there was a vote to add me to the multi-sig, and it went through on Aragon, and I was added. So just for transparency to say that I'm on there, and there's a GitHub issue with that. By the way, Brent, you're still sharing your screen. Just as a heads up.
Thanks.
Yeah. Next item after that was Ethereum 2.0 bounties. I don't have much context there. I don't know if who put it there or if anyone wants to comment.
Yeah, I've been trying to speak to Danny just with regards to finding out what's going on. There appears to be a break in communication between himself and Gitcoin with regards to the creation of the bounties. We're probably about 4 or 5 bounties now behind. And I think the last person to have been paid was Brent, but there's a couple that are still waiting for Pooja. She's got a couple of, and I think Brent's actually got one as well. And every meeting I'm raising it with Danny, just saying, is this something we can do to take over? Can we start talking to Gitcoin directly? Can we manage it? Because obviously Danny's pretty busy as it is at the moment. Unfortunately, it's been a bit of a brick wall, and I haven't heard anything back from him. So I'm kind of stuck there at the moment.
Brett, if you PM me, I think I might be having a meeting with Danny, and I can bring that up in the meeting just to push it again, as long as I have details from you and a DM before then, so I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Cool, I'll do that. No worries. Thanks, bud.
Maybe we could add in the spreadsheet the list of who, maybe we could have a sheet in that spreadsheet where we list everything and say who got what, and then have a check mark when they get paid or something like that, so that we know exactly who has and has not been paid for all 3 types of meetings. Would that help?
We already have people when they want to get paid, they already put an issue in. So I don't know if this would be duplicate work.
Yeah, we also have a few things. We have all the issues in the funding repository in GitHub. We also have a spreadsheet that tracks all of it. So it's pretty, like, it's mixed in with other stuff, but it's pretty clear, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. Thanks.
I think for this one,
that is good for ECH and ETH1 that we have been doing. I assume that Brett is asking for if we can do it for ETH2 as well. Like, we are pretty much managing these things at our side, and if we can take the responsibility of ETH2, that would ease Danny's job and
yeah, that's
the process.
That's the idea. Yep.
Okay, great. Next item was Moloch DAO and other funding. Quick update there. Charles and I managed to get our funds out of Moloch. So we had a Zoom call where we went over the actual transaction and made sure we basically rage quit all the shares except one, so that we can still have the cat herders be Moloch members, because we still have a share in Moloch. So we got 16 WETH in the multi-sig from the grant for note taking. And I guess the question there is, do we want to keep it like that? Do we want to convert it to DAI? Does anyone have strong opinions? Do we want to do like half and half?
Is Ether going to go up or down in the next 6 months?
Definitely going to go up, mate. Like a rocket to the moon.
So yeah, leave it in Ether as long as possible.
I think that, so I'm as into this meme as you guys are, but sorry for bringing it down to earth. I think the right question to ask, just from a financial perspective, is what percentage of our assets are in volatile instruments versus in a stablecoin like DAI? Does anyone know off the top of their heads?
So this kind of ties in well with the next ProgPow question, because if you remove like our assets, I think right now it's like we have mostly DAI, but most of this funds are kind of the leftover from the CLR matching. And if you took that out, we'd probably have mostly Ether.
Cool. So I think the right question to ask is not a one-off, but just a general policy. I think we should agree on a number. And like, I'm just going to throw out a number to start. Obviously, feel free to like, and we can also debate this in the future if people want more time. But I would say some volatile assets I'm pretty comfortable with, but I do think that the majority, whether it's 2/3 or 3/4, should probably be in something like DAI, just because the cat herders is not in the business of speculating. Just my 2 cents.
So you cut out when you said your percentage. Actually, what was the percentage?
I'm just making up numbers. I'm saying 25%, something like that, in the more volatile assets I'm comfortable. I could sleep at night with that. If it's more than that, I'd be a little uncomfortable. Feel free.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Either
I
scan list.
agree
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
I
that
agree.
is a good idea.
Yeah, sounds good.
But funnily enough, I actually also think it should be greater than 0, because I think we should have some skin in the game with respect to like the overall network value.
Either scan lists slightly over $27 worth of F in the wallet right now.
Right, but you have to add the WEF as well.
Yeah, we mostly have DAI or WEF.
So the WEF, okay, I got you. Yeah, my mistake.
So I guess
Does
this
anyone-
leads to a bigger question.
Oh, sorry.
Treasury
Tim?
management and kind of like what the goal is here, right? So I mean, we do this with our grants teams, or I guess like some of them, whoever wants advice. Obviously, we don't give financial advice, right? They are foundation, we don't do that. We're a nonprofit. However, I think that there are a lot of questions around kind of treasury management, and what I would not like to see is kind of like, you know, over hedging on if we're just over leveraged in volatile assets, and maybe 25% is right, and I think it feels like a good benchmark number. But I would like to kind of think more critically about, like, you know, what are the goals of the cat herders, and do we hope to accomplish in the next like 6 to 12 months, where, you know, we feasibly or reasonably are going to deploy X amount of capital within this time frame. So for example, like, we can expect and we can forecast how much we're going to give out on notes, you know, by quarters, right? And so in that sense, you know we need X amount of capital held in DAI so that we can, you know, do this if ETH does fall back down to like, you know, 80 or 70. And I think, you know, I personally am a fan of making sure that we have downside protection. But that's just me being more risk adverse. I don't know, and I don't want to kind of posit anything. I just want to throw this out there as like a, you know, healthy conversation that we should be having.
And
So
downside protection.
What was that, Lane?
Sorry, I know I think I interrupted Tim there. I'm sorry for that. My question was just to Ken. What do you mean by downside protection?
So with downside protection, what I mean is the assumption is that ETH is not going to go up. We're going to see downward movement. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, we're on the same page there. Great. Thank you. And sorry, Tim.
Just maybe another way of looking at it, I think I might be restating some of the things you said, Ken, but I mean, it could be we should just be calculating what we're holding our funds on based off of what currency, so to speak, we need to pay out in. If the only things we're paying out are DAI, so then it would make sense for pretty much everything to be in DAI. Is there anything that we're paying out in ETH right now?
I don't think there is. I think there is an argument to be made that like we want to have some upside to Ethereum, but like the question is how much. And to kind of flip this question around, given that like the consensus is we mostly want to have our funds in DAI, and how much Ether is kind of what we're debating, does it make sense to just like liquidate all the WETH to DAI sort of as soon as possible? And then if we do want to get more ETH, we can do that. But like while we're unsure of what the right percentage is, then at least we don't have any volatility.
And I like the way that you're phrasing the question a lot. I mean, it's sort of like just the practical application. We have a number of funds that are located in that are currently in wrapped ETH. Pretty much any payout needs to be in DAI. So just again, rephrasing the question that way, it's how quickly do we liquidate all of the funds? I mean, maybe that's what we should apply the 25% thumbnail rule to, and liquidate 75% of it into DAI.
I think if I'm understanding correctly, Tim's point is that we don't know the exact amount right now because the accounting is still a bit of an open question with respect to the funds being mixed up. I am with you on this one, Tim. I'd rather liquidate everything and then we could, acquire ETH in the future if we so desire, but that should be kind of the default here. Defaults are powerful.
Yeah, that's what I meant is like, now we have, I think it's like $2,500 in wrapped Ether. Like my thought was we should just convert that to DAI right now. And if, a month from now, we decide we want 20% of our treasury in Ether, we can go and buy back 20% of our treasury in Ether. And that means that while we're debating what that right percentage is, we're not exposed to volatility. Whereas if you do the other way around and say like a month from now, we decide that we want, I don't know, X% of Ether, and Ether has gone up or down. We've kind of speculated during that month. So I would personally feel more comfortable if we had an action item to just convert all the wrapped Ether we have to DAI for now, and then another action item to determine how much Ether do we actually want to keep.
And there's also minor other altcoins that we have a little small amounts worth that aren't worth a whole lot, right? We should include those in this conversation.
Yeah, I would liquidate those to DAI as well.
I agree.
Good point. So does
Also,
anyone
just to be clear, this is what we did historically. Like from the very beginning, we were receiving donations in multiple tokens, and Hudson or myself went in, sold them on Uniswap or something, or Binance, like posted all the transaction details in the spreadsheet for transparency. Like that's what we always did historically. We just kind of got a bit lazy. So to me, this is just continuing the previous course of action.
Okay, so does anyone disagree with having an action item to liquidate all the sort of volatile crypto we have and get DAI, and then another action item to just determine what's the percentage of Ether we want to have?
Sounds reasonable to me.
I second that.
Okay, cool. So let's have those two action items. And then the final item on the agenda was the ProgPal funding community update. I think, Charles, you had some thoughts you wanted to share there?
Yeah. So last week when Tim and I were going over the Moloch execution of retrieving our funds, we were talking about the remaining money that we have from the ProgPal audit. And originally we thought that the remaining money would go back to, actually Hudson can chime in here actually, because he was the one who originally stated this, that we wanted to return the funds to the major contributors of the ProgPal audit Gitcoin grant. So what are the thoughts on returning the money that the contributors on the Gitcoin grant retrieved to them, as well as the remaining to the rest of Consensus or whoever else funded it? Or are we allowed to ask them permission to use these funds to continue doing tasks in the future? And now, Hudson, do you have any opinion on this?
Yeah. Thinking about this recently, I kind of came to the conclusion that my opinion on this is that there's only two funders besides us. So so in total, there are 3 funding groups for ProgPal: the Cat Herders via the Gitcoin funding, Ethereum Foundation, and Bitfly, which is the Ether mine pool / his name is Peter, is the main guy who really funded it. Mm-hmm. So I think that because there's 3 entities, we divide the CLR matching funds by 3, and we say, Ethereum Foundation, here is 1/3 of the matching funds. Do you want us to transfer these to you, or do you want to donate them to the Ethereum Cat Herders? And then we say the same thing to Bitfly.
And we say the same thing to the community. So I think part of the bit that Charles was talking about is there's some people, like sort of small miners or just random people in the community that donated through our Gitcoin grant, that are not Consensus or Bitfly or DEF, that are just like individuals. And some of them have donated between like 5 DAI to 1,000 DAI. And my opinion is we should prioritize refunding those individual contributors, at least with up to 1/3 of the matching, before, say, refunding like the Ethereum Foundation or a mining pool, just from a sort of fairness and community optics point of view.
Yeah. That sounds great to me. Let's do that.
So I'm
Yeah, 'cause
happy that. Oh, sorry. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was saying the amounts raised from those individuals would definitely be covered by the amount we have left, and then the remaining could also be proposed to send back to the rest of the EF consensus and Bitfly.
Okay, I'm happy to take on an action item to just like calculate how much we would need to send back to the community. And it's kind of easy to do so because you can see all their transaction on Etherscan. So you can kind of send it back to whoever sent it. So it's not like rocket science and we should probably reach out to confirm with these people, you know, what their addresses are and whatnot. But I'm happy to take that on.
So it actually becomes rocket science a little bit because some of the donations that we received from Gitcoin were in like really like not very used tokens. So actually if you go to it and you look at
I'm on the list right now. I would just send DAI back to everybody, right? Like you can go on Etherscan for all these transactions and you can see how much their transaction was worth at the time they sent it. And we can just send them back in DAI. Like it doesn't have to be super complex, but like the first one is someone sent like 10 0x tokens and you can see like that they were worth $2.85 or something.
Right.
Per token at the time, yeah.
Yeah, you just
actually now that I'm looking at this, I don't think the amount we currently have can pay back everyone because there's one contributor. I'm not going to say the name, but they contributed 10,750 DAI, and we have 13,000 DAI remaining. And if we paid that person back, it won't leave enough to pay the rest of the contributors. So.
Oh.
I didn't realize someone contributed that much.
Yeah.
Wait, someone contributed that much? Are you sure that's not Gitcoin bot?
It's Atlantic.
It says
Crypto.
Yeah, Atlantic Crypto.
Oh, yeah, they did contribute that much. So then that's just more math. That's not too bad. All you do is you say, how much can we refund the community? And then you take percentages of everyone's total. And yeah, that's all.
So they might not get 100% of their amount, basically.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been at the beginning anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm happy to work through that math and seeing like, what's, how much they all want to get back. And I can even reach out to, I'm not sure how possible it is to reach out to like Atlantic Crypto and tell them, they represent sort of this disproportionate part and, do they want to receive like the bulk of the refund or do they want to share it?
I have a contact at Atlantic Crypto.
Okay, cool. So I'll coordinate with you offline, Hudson. But I think it's probably worth asking them, if they're also like a business and the rest of the funders are like individuals, are they willing to like give a part of their refund back and split it across the community and stuff like that?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, cool. So I'll follow up on that. And we have 5 minutes left. So any other business that anyone wants to discuss?
First thing I want to say that we are going to set a great example of community funding and returning the money which is extra. And I'm very happy about it. Like people almost sent us the double amount that we needed and we are able to return back the money. And the second thing that I wanted to, just a quick check on thing. Like sometimes back we worked on Gnosis wallet, like I believe Brett and I'm not sure Lane was there or not. Like these two guys helped us to do the experiment of Gnosis wallet. So just wanted to know like where we are standing and how did it go, if they have anything to share with us.
So I think you mean Gnosis Safe because we use Gnosis Wallet for our current multi-sig. And I think the sort of experiment was the Gnosis Safe. They had like their how did they call that? Their like identity token thing. And I think Lane led that, but he left the call. So I'm not too sure what the update would be.
It was actually myself. Lane and myself worked on it. We had some issues with the Gnosis Safe, but in the end we managed to get some reputation from the auction that they were having. At the end, we were unable to withdraw any funds from the Ethereum cat herders just because of the time delay. So I just put some of my own money in. But we did get some reputation. And since then, it's just kind of sat idle. The reputation that was given to us, by the way, is not transferable. We can't sell it. We can't do anything. It's just for future, I guess, voting ability.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Brent.
I have a quick question. Is there supposed to be like a Gitcoin grants dedicated to just ECF, like, or ECH general pool, the same way that the magicians do? Or
Yeah, there is one, but it's kind of bad and outdated. We should probably revamp it, but there is one. I can pull it up somewhere.
Oh, I didn't know we had one.
Yeah.
I thought we just had the Prog Pal audit.
Yeah, no, there was one originally set up right at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's...
I think when we raised enough money to what we thought at the time would cover most of our expenses, we said, "Oh, thanks, guys," and we just left it at that. But because of that, it's just kind of sat there, idly doing nothing.
Yeah, so I just shared it in the chat. There were a couple like initial subscriptions. I think there's still one guy, Rice, who's giving us $5 a month, and then. Oh, and I think actually Kevin Owoki is giving us $10 a month. So, I mean, there's like a minimal amount of funding that's coming in through there. But yeah, that's, I think it probably needs like a good rework to just explain that it's about the cat herders and this is like the general place we should donate.
I think that would be awesome. And then we can put in the repo as well of all the tasks so that people can contribute knowing what tasks are or need to be filled within the community. I think that would be like kind of an awesome thing for more people to get involved.
Yeah, I agree. We should probably have an action item to like revamp the Git, like the default Gitcoin grant. Anything else? Okay, then.
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. Awesome call, guys.
I do have one, just a summary for the financial stuff. So my understanding is we're pretty much agreed that there's no known discrepancies except for Lane is going to go through and so there's one action item for Lane to make sure he agrees with that. And if he does, and then if Lane agrees with that, then we can close this issue down and close that Gitcoin issue and all that stuff. Am I stating that right?
Yeah.
I would say so. Drop him a PM just to remind him.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.